Alright, there we go. Let's make it work. Let's make it work. Let's make it work. Where's my random word generator? There. Let's see, how does it sound on that? A little bit quieter. There we go, a little bit quieter. There we go. Sounds good. Oh, well, hey there. We're just getting started now, actually. So you've come just in the nick of time. Meow. And hello there, Teddy. You know, I know somebody else named Teddy who comes to this chat. Oh, it's like we got a follow from Pearly. Be sure to thank her whenever she comes online. Thank you for the follow, Rissy. I'm very glad that you've done that. There we go. Oh. It's true. I don't know it's you. Technically speaking, it could be anybody. It could be anybody. We're up to 5 followers, though. That's great. 5 followers. That's fantastic. Alright, we'll be starting our stream right about now. How does this sound, Rissy? How do you like it? Sounds good. Alright, I'm glad to hear it. Very relaxing. That's exactly what I want to hear. That's exactly what I want to hear. Alright. We're going to begin with some weather. Let's look at the weather in Tahiti to start with. It is currently 84 degrees Fahrenheit in Tahiti. A precipitation of 60%. Winds are 11 miles per hour and the humidity is 70%. It's just over 7:30 and we are starting our stream for the third episode of Cast Talks. Our third episode is mostly going to be talking about being at the beach, some childhood memories I have from being there, some words that have to do with the beach, and generally my thoughts on beaches in general. So, to begin with, this is a nice little story that you will probably enjoy, Rissy. I first went to the beach when I was very, very young, and I remember very well following my father around the seashore until we reached an alcove, I guess you could say, a little cave. And in that cave, me and my father, my brother may have been there as well. Now that part I can't say I remember very well, but we found nice little seashells. And you find the prettiest ones that are sort of oily and pearlescent. Some are just sort of normal shells with circles of color or dots of color here and there. All types of pretty little things that you can find in a cave on the beach. Even though I found the prettiest, most sort of oily, purple and blue shell I could find, you'd never seen a shell as shiny, as perfect as this one. I had it clutched in my hand. I knew this was the one. But my father saw this. He told me, we can't take any of them. I was heartbroken just for a moment, thinking I had to leave this here. I almost wanted to steal it just so I could have this piece of the beach with me for all time. But what I did was, before we left, before we had to put it back, I looked at the shell as hard as I could. I memorized it, I ingrained it into my mind to the point where I just knew, right? I knew the shell from top to bottom, and that sort of was a feast for the mind. It was enough to make me feel as though I hadn't been cheated out of what I was doing or my time there. I felt like I had actually done the right thing, and that I was a little more able to let go because I had it so firmly in my mind. And ever since then, I've been a little bit obsessed with very shiny, very pearlescent, oily colors like that. It's just such a beautiful thing. And really, who could say just what kind of thoughts it could stir in someone that young? But for me, it really made me feel like I was whole. That's how I felt. I felt whole and safe. And I love that feeling, just to see something so beautiful in your presence. It's probably why I really am attracted to the idea of going to these beautiful places and seeing them for yourself. Because you can see as many pictures as you'd like to. You can see as many photos, as many streams, and even this video that we're watching right now, this capture. It won't quite do it justice, will it? Not quite. And the best pictures in the world are not going to quite give you what you need. Not going to quite be enough. And that's something that I learned, that it's not always easy to just get these things, and you have to sort of fight for them a little bit to really keep them. And maybe I should have fought for that shell, maybe not, but I just know that I remember it very well. I remember the color and the texture. It was very like that sort of texture where your finger gets caught on it a little bit, but it's also very slick at the same time. It's sort of a contradictory thing, but I didn't mind. It's very relaxing. That's why I've always found beaches so relaxing. It's the idea of this mix of sensations, the smell of the foaming seawater and the sights of just the naked ocean before you. I almost imagine it's a little scary being next to the ocean at night, you know? Just a little bit scary. You're there and it's kind of like being in this alien world where there's just this lapping water coming at you. And if you're far enough away, it never quite reaches you. But it always feels like it's coming very, very close to doing just that. If you're not careful, they'll get a little bit sprinkled, or you can have some go up your pants. But it's hit me before when the high tide comes. And that is where part 2 of our story begins. This beach, in particular, that I'm thinking of now, is different from the first beach I visited, which was more of a drive up to the beach kind of affair. A port was even on the middlest part of it, surrounded by roads and small little houses and huts and shacks. But on the far end of the beach, you could find a cave. Now, that was far more common on this second beach. It was like a cliffside, and then a ramp that led down and down until you actually reached the beachfront itself. And during that time, you would see the marvelous sight of the ocean stretched. And if you didn't know there was a ramp down, you might miss the beach altogether. But for those who knew, and many people knew, but for those who did, you could stroll down this incline and reach your destination. And at first, I had an alacrity to go to the beachfront, to go into the water and splash around. And all was fun. You know, me and my family were just enjoying ourselves and taking a nice dip into the salty waters. And I remember very clearly my mother telling me that high tide was at 10:30, and I don't know how she knew this, because cell phones weren't really a thing that were that popular at the time. You know, they were there, but it wasn't like everyone had one, not like today at all. And she knew this though, and I didn't pay it any mind because I didn't have a watch, and I was a young man who could care less about the whimsies of nature, though perhaps I should have cared, thinking on the story now. I was playing and having fun, and there were other kids in the water as well. You know, a clandestine child from a nearby family comes around seeing the fun and wants to join in. And you get lost, don't you? You get a little lost when you have moments like that with strangers. Because kids can play with any kid, right? It doesn't matter if you know them for a few minutes or a year or however long, but any kid could play with any kid. Doesn't matter. And we had found kids to play with. And good times were had. You know, we have to not forget about the good times that were had because of this. But high tide came. Eventually, as it always does. And I was not prepared for high tide. I was ill prepared for anything other than games. So when it did come crashing down, this, to me, graybeard of a wave, clashing with the sun, towering over me and my brother and sister, when the wave swept down and hit, when it crashed, I remember the sensation of being upturned, not once but twice. That whirlpool of sudden suck from the water going back to the ocean. I was caught up in it. Not only had I been rocked, I was upheaved. It had pushed me far, far back against the beach. Oh, welcome in, Ellen. I'm very glad to see you here. We're just finishing up a story from my childhood. The high tide hit me so hard that I was turned on my back over and then on my back again on the beach. Before I knew it, I had been caught in a flotsam. And the glasses that I would always be wearing before then, they weren't on my face anymore. It's a strange thing, the moment that a person who wears glasses knows their glasses are gone forever. Because what can you do when you're hit by the high tide and your glasses are just gone off your face forever? Can you search the ocean for them? Do you go swimming and look? But I mean, they're either out there in the ocean on some fish, or they're caught in the sand under someone's foot. I mean, really, what can you do at that point? And I was so totaled from the high tide that I didn't know what to do but to go crying to my mom. And so there I was, crying about my destroyed glasses. Sitting on the beach in a towel, trying to keep my cool, but still mesmerized and dazed over the loss of one of my only belongings. It was a strange thing. You know, losing your glasses, it's a strange thing. It's happened to me a few times now already. I have lost 2 glasses to the beach. 2 glasses. Isn't that strange? It's the thing I have to remember is that I can never wear glasses to the beach. Because I will get them lost if I do. It's a curse. But I bear it. Because I don't really need them as much as I used to. My eyes have gotten better. Honestly, they have gotten better. To be fair, though, it's never been an issue of, like, needing prescriptions, really, because my eyes are actually fine, besides the fact that I have a inability to see straight without them, for the most part, though it's been corrected quite significantly. We're on to our first word, though. On the beach of Tahiti. Our first word is inspector. I think the cushiest job I can imagine is a hotel inspector for a beach resort like this one. You know, you have to make sure the beach has a certain level of safety to it. You have to make sure that the hotel is up to snuff, the food is being distributed properly, and being cared for properly. Imagine a job like that where you just visit islands in Polynesia all the time. I'm not even sure how you could get a job like that. You probably have to go through some kind of rigor, right, where you are challenged by some kind of paperwork. I'm sure the paperwork is the worst part of it, but you still get to go to islands and you get paid to do it. So, hotels on beaches. I have never been to a place like that, though I had an opportunity to go at one point. I was far too afraid of facing a childhood friend that I had not contacted for a long time. You know, depression got in the way of traveling, and then traveling and depression got in the way of meeting my friend again. And so I was kind of swayed to not go. Though I don't even know if I would have seen this friend if I had gone. I suppose the chances existed, right? They were there. And I guess I was afraid. I was very afraid that they would see me and the changes that had been done to me from my stay. And they would see past the mask that I wore to try and keep my depression invisible from others. And you know, I've had very few occurrences where that's actually happened in my past, but it happened enough that I thought about the kind of feelings that are like an ocean in one's mind, moving around, side to side, waxing and waning. The ocean spray that comes to mind with that sort of metaphor is, it's kind of like when you're thinking really hard and your face shows that. When someone is in great peril or suffering, their face shows that too. And there's a face that's very specific to mankind. It's the face of being comfortable and cool at the beach. And I think anyone who's been there and had a good time has seen this face. But there is a very specific set of expressions for when someone is enjoying themselves at the beach. It's sort of an interesting way to describe any expression, but in this particular case, you'll know it when you see it. Fall asleep at the beach. Hey, you know, it's good audio. It's very good audio. It's sort of like, if you can imagine, the only way you'll ever see a smile in a certain light is in the warmth, like you say, especially when it's warm. If you're under an umbrella and you hear the waves crashing and maybe a person or two laughing and having fun in the background, and maybe the day has a cool breeze, but it's warm enough that you don't get cold, but cool enough that you don't get hot. Just that perfect kind of 80 degrees, maybe 85, and you're just hearing the back and forth of the ocean. It's a lovely thing. You get to spots like that are sort of these really endearing, really crisp, crystal clear moments in life where you just know something so well, so profoundly almost. You get a sense of clarity, you know. It's like seeing the sky without any clouds or light pollution at night. You just see everything. You see across the stars. And you sort of know where you are right now. You know, you forget that you're alive for a moment and just think about what's above you, what's around you. You just lose focus of everything that you are experiencing and just sort of fade. Not in a way that makes people forget about you or you forget about you, but the world. It just kind of smooths. It becomes just a noise. A faint, low decibel noise. So low that you forget that you're even sitting or looking up. I think that's the moment where you start to fall asleep. It's the moment when you forget that you're even laying somewhere. It's almost like floating. It's sort of like the same feeling you get when you are on anesthesia, where you're kind of half on the precipice of falling asleep and half attached to your body. For me, it's a mix, though, between actually just not even realizing the moment you fall asleep and knowing that you are falling asleep, but being pulled and woven into your mind for just that split, not even a second, before you're back awake again. There's no, for me at least, there's no dream when you're on an anesthetic, you know. It's sort of like you exist and then you don't, and then you do. But the moment of not existing is so small, you can't even measure it. But it's quick enough for you to know what happened. It's a trick that your mind is playing on you. Because anyone who's ever been to have an operation done of any kind knows that time is not something that anyone can keep track of while they're asleep. You know, you can't know what time it is while you're sleeping. And it's the same when you're unconscious. You know, you don't know what time it is. You don't know where you are exactly. You know, maybe you're in your bed, but where your arms are, your legs are, oh, who knows? It's that place you go to when you're lying comfortably and safely, really anywhere. You're just a brain. You know, your body's, it's there, but your mind is, it's in a jar somewhere. You know, it's completely off of your body. It's kind of just floating. And the events that take place around you, I mean, if they don't wake you up, then it may as well not even happen, right? They're just sort of parallel to you, but you're just zooming past them, because when you're asleep, time moves quick. You know, for me, when I'm dreaming, it's not like I am aware of time passing. There's just like things happening one after the other in a movie almost that I'm sitting by and watching and sort of just flying through. But these things that happen, they carry an emotional weight to me, and sometimes they're beautiful. You know, sometimes they're crazy beautiful. You know, seeing the sun, a controlled sun, rising and falling over a cityscape that never ends. Skyscrapers, as far as the eye can see, being hit by that orange glow, sunrise, sunset, going across the horizon in unnatural ways. It's very strange to me that the mind can make these things happen. But it's an ocean. And sometimes you get wet. I mean, I can only tell you that my dreams oftentimes make very little sense to me, and that trying to explain them to anybody else is sort of like the insight that a madman has. Only someone else who is mad can kind of understand it. And trying to explain that you were Venom suit Spider-Man at the end of the world in a Groundhog Day style loop. You know, most people won't quite understand what you're talking about, but a few people will get it and see it. I think that's how you know you have a connection to somebody, whether you sort of want to have it or not, is if someone understands what you're thinking, even if it's just a little bit. Having a person like that around, it's true. You can get a lot of insight from dreams into it's alright. You can get some good insight into stories and ideas, because honestly, half of the stuff that I dream about, it's just idea after idea after idea, but there's no plot to it. You know, there's no through thread except me. I'm the observer, but I'm not a player. I'm not choosing anything, and whenever I actually become a player in my dreams, active and cognizant, it collapses, because my active psyche doesn't seem to be able to take that level of control very well, to the point where I just wake up. It's very strange. And in the soft, small moments that I have had some kind of control over my dreams, it's almost sort of like not even knowing you're holding a remote control. Thank you, Ella. I try to think that they're pretty original myself, but, you know, I forget most of them. I wish I could just see them recorded on a screen somewhere so I could sort of look at them and see what they mean, or at least write them down. Being in control of your dreams is a thing that usually you're just born with, but you can learn it like you can learn almost anything. It's a muscle that you can't really flex. At least I don't know how to. Though it would be nice, wouldn't it, have that kind of control over your dreams to just wish for an arcade or a field of crystal flowers in the moonlight. A big plate of cookies. The wind is buckling my window enough that I can hear it sort of squeaking. I'm glad to be indoors with the wind like this. I may need to have something on tonight, though, to help me get to sleep. You know, beaches are pretty windy sometimes because of how close they are to just a limitless, seemingly, supply of water. The wind has nowhere to go, but everywhere. And wind has never really been my friend. The breeze, that is my best friend, but wind, I have no love for. I think most people would agree is that they can tolerate or even enjoy a summer breeze. But a cacophony, a typhoon of noise and rushing air is just... it's just intolerable to me, but I've never liked rain or extreme winds. I don't mean to be negative, though. I do like beaches, I'll say that much. I imagine the beaches with the pinkest sand, the clearest waters, and the most beautiful green and blues reflected from the sun in the shallow reefs. One day, I don't know when, but one day, I will go scuba diving in a place like this. Just so I can sort of see the underwater kelp forests, the fish, and if I'm really lucky, I might get to see an octopus. But that's only if I'm very, very lucky. If places like that are still in existence by the time I am able to do that, then I would be very, very happy to record it, take lovely little pictures, and have dreams of swimming underwater. I guess that would be a thing though, wouldn't it? If you swim enough, you start dreaming about swimming. I can't even imagine what kind of dreams you have when you are swimming a ton. Especially if it's like a sort of a warmer water. There's not really a warm ocean anywhere, but the water does get warm enough to tolerate, at least, you know, to be in and to accept that you're in water that isn't that cold. That's a thing, and I'd like to sort of swim in water like that. You know, I've always wanted to have a very large bath. I would like a bath that was like not only large, but to lay some kind of bed inside of it, some kind of table I could lie on, something plastic and soft. And then when you lie in that, the water is raised up and up and up until it goes over most of your body, nice and warm and soft. And then it goes up, almost to the peak of your chin, to the point that most of your face is submerged. But almost everything else, maybe not the tips of your toes, but almost everything else, even your ears, are filled with water and covered by it. Hydrotherapy is what that would be. The kind of thoughts you have when you're lying on a plastic mattress, just encompassed by water. You think about how much less you have to worry about in that moment. You think about how much you're doing for yourself and how much healing you're going through. And you think about the kindness you're showing and that softness you're giving. What kind of kind, secure, thoughtful person goes through that much trouble just to relax for a little while? I'll tell you what though, a very powerful, very wise person does that sort of thing. Because it's nothing but great. If you're good enough at it, you can meditate there for a little while, still under the water, breathing through your nose and out through your mouth. And if you can do that for a little while, I'm sure you could find some kind of nirvana in that moment. Because there's nothing quite as good as surrendering to the warmth around you. In fact, one day, I'd like to go back to tank style with a scuba mask on, in the middle of a tank or a tube, just floating in the warmest water I can withstand, hooked up to an oxygen supply. I always have these dreams of this water that is a mixture of rejuvenating and revivifying ingredients, chemicals of any type you can imagine that would rejuvenate you. A healing water. I dream about being lowered to something like that. An actual Bacta tank filled with actual Bacta. And just seeing all the imperfections of time on my skin and across my body sort of just fading away, falling off of me like sand in a shower, floating to the surface, slipping away from the purified form. Maybe someday. They say wabi-sabi is the way to love what is imperfect. I think in the future, we may learn to love the art of seeing what we once were and seeing what we've become. Technology will probably help us do that. And you know, I always do fear about the loss of humanity through technology, but I think that technology can do us so much good. It's letting me look at this beach in Tahiti from thousands of miles away. It's letting you listen to me and enjoy yourself from wherever you are. And it's making me aware of the humanity that I have and what I long for. And we have to ask ourselves these questions like, what do we long for? To sit on a beach on a warm night. Sometimes I long for things like that, and sometimes I get them in my dreams. Sometimes I wake up feeling so much better than when I went to bed, but usually that's not the case. But you can blame depression for that one. The lack of sleep is common fatigue and soreness for those who suffer from mental illness, so I'm used to it. Don't shed a single tear for me, though a hope that it might get better would be nice. Whatever you can give me, I'll take. Until then, though, I'll keep taking it easy where I can. Thinking about those baths. Thinking about the ocean. Thinking about you fine folks tuning in. It's really easy sometimes to imagine listening while you're doing something else. Just doing a chore or a task. Cleaning the house. Doing your taxes even. Which, taxes are the most boring thing I can think of, honestly. It would be a lot easier to do, though, if you had someone with a smooth, deep voice telling you about the ocean. I hope that happens one day where someone doing their taxes listens to this. Maybe they'll look up and be like, oh, he's talking about me. And then I'll say, yes, I am. I'm talking about you. Hey, I have never filed my taxes. I don't make enough money to do that right now. But maybe someday I'll have that complaint. And then I'll be happy to have it. I can look forward to that. You know, it's a great thing to have that kind of problem, the problem of doing too well. Having too much to manage. Of course, it comes with its own issues, but it can sometimes be alluring and captivating to think I'm doing so well that I have to worry about managing all this good energy I have. And you know, today was my first day back on Second Life. And it went really well. I made a new friend. You know, I enjoyed going with my friend to her event. I enjoyed speaking with all those people I had known and I had left for almost 6 months. It was a good thing. It reminds me of why I went there in the first place. I did it so that I could meet people and do interesting things and roleplay, have fun, smile. That's really what I aim for. And it felt like I was back in form. Back being myself again. And it lets me know that I'll be back to doing my videos again soon as well. I'll keep moving. Oceans are always in motion. And I want to mimic that and try to make myself always in the action, always in the attempt, when I can give that energy to make the attempt. I think that's a fair attitude to have. Oh, thank you, Ella. It was nice being on again. I did feel a touch of I guess you could say, love, or rejoice, gratefulness, gladness. I was very grateful to be talking to my friends and grateful to be seeing everybody in their element seeing everybody having their life move when I'm not there. I felt like I was growing in my time away, and now that I'm back, I can see how much I've grown in the way I talk with people. It's really easy, actually, to see them. You know, we have a lot of cast talks, streams ahead of us. We have 2 behind us now, almost 3 at this point. This channel and the people who watch it, people who enjoy it, I hope that they can see me rise further and further to new heights, and I hope they can be there with me when that happens. I would like to invite all of you here who are listening right now to make sure that you find a comfortable position to relax in for the last bit of our stream. And remember that you are worthy and smart and kind and intelligent and beautiful, regardless of whatever you might think or feel or whatever someone else has told you or what you have seen. You can't really compare people. You can't really compare someone with another person. And you have to remember that no matter who you are, what you've been through, what you've experienced, or what you've done, there's always time to make that change that you need. Just always remember that. The moment you need to change, the moment you know there needs to be a change, that's the moment that you can capitalize on. Always know that you're worthy of that change for the better. Because that's all anyone needs in their life is wholesome change. Something new, something sweet and warm. I recommend that as a therapy for most ailments. Even ones that are beyond the effects of medicine can be improved by just learning and growing and relaxing and loving. That is what Cassius Mishima as a channel on YouTube and Twitch really means. It means relaxation, it means love for yourself, and maybe for me a little bit if you really like what I'm doing, but that's up to you. Don't let me talk you into anything. But what I can talk you into is trying to sit back and kick it old school, fresh, like you've never had a problem before. Because right now, you have no problems. The only problem that you have is to make sure that you don't do anything that doesn't help you. And maybe listening to this stream is just what you need. If you've ever thought about talking to a wall or a body of water, sometimes you think about what is it like for an animal to be talked to? Because animals, they understand the basics of what you're trying to say if you're trying to teach them, or if you're trying to reward them, or if you're trying to scorn them for bad behavior. They understand the basics of what you're doing. But when you talk like this to an animal, when you sit down and you say your truth and bare your heart, when they're looking up at you and they're smiling or they're confused, or even if they're sad. Animals can see it. They can see the sadness that people carry. They can see the warmth they have for each other and for them. I have never met an animal that was incapable of showing kindness to one thing or the other. Because every animal is capable of being cruel. Every creature is. But animals like cats and dogs, guinea pigs, elephants, animals of every shape and size, sometimes they like and long to be embraced in a warm, soft, squishy hug. I long for that as well, so I understand how they feel. You think with all that leather, elephants wouldn't be able to tell if you were hugging them, but I think they can. I think they can. I think all animals appreciate being touched by something else. You know, even like hyenas and jackals and coyotes. Wolves. They play. They comfort one another. You just have to be the right master to get that from them. Even the most vicious attack dogs, they could be owned emotionally. They could be controlled, and they could find solace in the whip of their master. There's a lot to be found there. Loyalty. Loyalty can always extend too far. But don't let me tell you otherwise about loyalty. Loyalty is powerful. Loyalty is a strong bond. It's somebody seeing behind your mask, seeing you for the ocean and the wisdom, seeing you for who you are. That connects a person. It connects an animal. It connects a creature. And we're all capable of building that bridge with each other. But we have to take a moment. We have to take a moment to look at each other and to see who we really are. See what we want and what we think about. But if you can connect to somebody, if you can bear the burden of accepting their sapience, their conscience, for what it is, good and bad, you could get through to anybody. As long as they want to talk and you want to listen. There's a reason for every word that someone says. There's a story behind it. It's just like there's a reason for every wave. For the high tide that takes your glasses. And for the low tide, calm and steady. Welcome back, Ella. I got a little bit into a sensitive topic there for a little bit. But I guess to clarify what I was talking about, its loyalty can be very powerful. And just being there for somebody to hear them out, that's powerful as well. Don't forget that you have that ability for anybody, for anything, regardless of who you are, where you come from. But I often think that I talk too much about sensitive subjects, and that is not the intention of this stream, to talk about edgy or dark or grisly subjects. We are not a gruesome people at Cassius Mishima. Our Discord is about cute animals and kindness, love, sensitivity. And we treasure these things because the world is so full of the opposite. That when you find something like this that you can really hold on to, you can be a part of, and that you can cherish, it's a beautiful thing. It's a very, very beautiful thing. And we have to look at these things and we have to know and acknowledge them and say, thank you. Thank you so much for existing, for being a part of me, for my life to be changed and swayed by something so beautiful. That's worth it. I'm very glad you could come to see the stream today, Ella. We'll be wrapping up in about 15 minutes. Maybe a little longer. My hair needs to be cut very seriously. I'm thinking about going to get some advice about how to manage it, because I am not very good at managing my hair. I find it very difficult to tame the curls and to straighten out the edges. I suppose I shouldn't try to control it so much, though. Just a little bit, though, right? Just a little bit. That's why I'll get it cut at some point when it gets long enough to cut again. To make it look the way I want it to look. I don't think you've seen my real life hair, but... Or maybe have you seen it? Ella? Have you seen it? Well, I thank you for your compliment, even so. I still think, though... Oh, that's right, the cast pick. Oh, wait, when did I send that? When did I send that? October... October 13th. Almost a month ago I had my surgery. I'm glad you like my hair there, though. I thought it was a little bit... a bit wavy. Like the ocean. I remember that thick cast I mean you wear. Beach curls. You know, I love water. Not deep water that I can't see the bottom of, but water that is moving and bubbly and visible. Warm water, specifically, I love. I love seeing, like slime, little beans of motion. Excuse me. I like seeing, it's terrible. I like seeing the kind of stuff that you get when you mix crystal clear liquids together. mixing things. The mixture of different types of solids and liquids. It's almost like a painting or a piece of art in motion surrounding you, keeping you safe almost. The third Saturday in a row we've been doing this. The third. This is a good thing for me, though. It's a good thing for people listening, I'm sure, considering what people tell me about my voice and things like that. About the ocean, how it's helpful for people to fall asleep to. I love this kind of atmosphere where we could just sit and talk. And whatever comes to my mind just comes. And I deal with it and accept it and help you folks with it. Because I do have a lot to say about a lot of things. And I like speaking, so I guess it's not a big... Oh, thank you, Ella. I'm grateful. I asked for that one, though. But thank you for helping me. I'm grateful that you're here. Ella has told me your voice and the waves sound great together. I think that she's very right. I think that she has a good point. Our last topic for the night, coaching. Yes, you do. Coaching is what happens when one person decides to spend their time being at the call of someone else, being there when they need them, to teach them and to help them. I always think to Rocky, when I think of good coaches, an old man egging you on, giving you the courage and the gumption, the grit, the determination to fight on, to get the next rep, to go to the next milestone, to cross the next threshold. And I think there's not really much better you can do than help somebody like that. To be there for somebody that's almost like family. Maybe it is family. It can be paternal sometimes being a coach, but I guess it can't be helped when you're that much different from somebody, and yet still so much the same too. I've always wanted to coach a support animal. One of those lovely little dogs, or they have emotional support alpacas as well. Alpacas and llamas both very emotionally empathetic to humans. Though I heard that they'll spit you if you make eye contact for too long. They'll spit at you and they will usually hit you. And their spit travels fast, so be wary of that. Luckily though, most animals that are emotional support and hug animals, they wear that little vest so that you know that they're ready. And it's a cute vest. It's an adorable vest. And you walk up and you wrap your arms around them. And they lean up close to you and nuzzle. And press and hold themselves against you. And there's nothing quite as good as an animal that wants to be in your arms, that wants to be held by you, that loves you, and that is pressing itself up against you because it likes your attention and your warmth so much. It's a great thing. It's something I seek as a person who loves animals and wants to be around them as often as they can be. It's something I seek for sure. We're up to 78 years. Wow, we're doing great. We're doing great. We're coming up to the last bit of our live stream right now. We're coming up to the front stretch. About 10 minutes left, maybe a little less. Let's not worry about that though. Let's think about how far we've come in just over an hour. We've talked about many things. We've talked about relaxation, loyalty, love, beauty. But what topics do you want to talk about? What do you think about these things? Do you like beaches as much as I do? Or warm water for that matter? Maybe you're thinking about when you'll visit a beach next. When you'll go scuba diving again under the sun. When you'll see a sunset over the ocean. It's something I'd like to know, is when that will happen. In the winter, I miss the sun when it's gone. But in the summer, I long to see the sun and its rays going and skipping across every little plant. Floating in the sea without worrying about anything, that would be great. I would long to see the light shining through palm trees, ferns, through the windows of a sandcastle. I would love to float calmly, but you have to stay calm to float. You have to breathe slow and steady. You have to stay cool. And it's tough. It's very tough to stay cool and calm in the ocean. So much chaos surrounding you. Just know that you're in the ocean. You're actually pretty safe. You know? You're actually pretty safe. Or when you see a crab. Yeah, I agree, crabs can be scary. But crabs, for the most part, They love to do what they want to do, to scuttle around and to be a crab. And most crabs don't really want to bother with people. And I admit crabs can be scary. It can be. But just remember that crabs they're like the cooler, cuter version of spiders. They're big, two beady eyes, looking around, their pincers trying to grab meat and food. Their crab claw. I think being friends with a crab would be a beautiful thing. I think it would be a very, very beautiful thing. As long as I know what they're up to and I can see them, I'd be fine with it. It's when they get out of my sight that I would be worried. I'd be thinking, where did they go? Where's the crab? Is it gone? Mr. Crab, where'd you go? I have never heard of a crab stealing from somebody's wallet, but I will bet you that there is a moment where that has happened. I could see it happening now. The crab just goes for the greenback because he's like, oh, I want this. I don't know why, but I want it. It knows. Has a crab ever stolen money in SpongeBob? I don't know if Mr. Krabs steals money. He takes money, but I don't know if he steals it. I don't know. But in real life, I don't know if I've ever heard of a crab stealing money. Oh, does he? Okay, if you say so, I believe it, because you have probably seen more than I have. But I would like to see a crab with a dollar bill in its claw. Wouldn't that be cute? Having a crab as a pet might be cute too. I can imagine that being fun. A cute crab pet that just scuttles around and does its thing. I'd be scared of them in the middle of the night though if I saw their shadow moving across the floor. It's very scary seeing a crab-like thing. Yeah, I've seen it too. I've seen that crab grab that knife. Crabs, they'll grab. If you point something at them, they'll grab it. They've got very strong crab claws. Very strong. They can pinch the heck out of you. They can pinch you real good. You don't want them grabbing you with their little claw at the end of it. They'll pinch you like nobody's business. I still think they're cute though, even if scary. Cute but scary. Anything with that many legs scares me though. That's what I'll say. Ah, those darn crabs. Those darn crabs. Well, we've come to the end of our stream. I'd like to thank Ella for being here, and Rissy, and whoever our mysterious third person is. I don't know who they might be, but I'm grateful for them being here regardless. Cast Talks. Cast Talks is about you folks listening in and enjoying yourselves. I hope you've been able to do that this stream. I hope you found some peace. As for me, I'm going to call it here and say thank you for coming. Once again, I'm glad that you were here. Thank you so much. Ella says it was amazing to listen to you again. I'm grateful that you got to. I'm grateful to be back, finally, after all this time. 5 months is a long time to be out of the game, but I'm back. I'm back and I'm feeling pretty good about it. Feeling pretty good. I look forward to our next Cast Talks. And once again, thank you all for being here. I hope you have a lovely night or a lovely morning, wherever you are. And I hope that this has been a pleasant time for you. and that you can call on it whenever you need the strength to carry on. Have a nice night. Stay safe.